Welcome to Truth Stream. We have another edition of Health Stream today, and we are here with Laura Bogh, one of the co-founders of Healthy Beings up in Bellevue, Washington. And we've gotten to know her and Trent, one of the other co-founders as well, over the last few months, and they're amazing people. And so we're very happy to have her on the show. Welcome, Laura, to Truth Stream.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here and just share and talk with you guys. You're always fun to talk to.
Absolutely. Well, just so the viewers know, Laura is a physical therapist. She's amazing at what she does. Scott and I have both had the opportunity to be up at Healthy Beings and partake in many of the modalities. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, yeah, I've been working with you, Laura, now for what are we, about 5-6 weeks in?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. And in the beginning, I had crippling back spasms, and
yes, you did.
What I came to find was a nerve impingement, and it changed so much about my life when Laura gave me some hope. I thought I was just getting old, and that was just something I had to live with. But after one session on the equipment, I didn't have that problem. It was kind of miraculous. And ever since then, things have been getting better and better and better. And this equipment is outside the normal scope of physical therapy. So Laura's going to tell us all about that. But yeah, it's been profound in my life, for sure.
It's fascinating because you won't see it in other PT clinics. I mean, it's stuff that we do, but you don't typically have access to this technology just because it's cost prohibitive to put it into a clinic, or the insurance doesn't pay for it. And so therefore, most PTs aren't even aware that it exists. And so I just feel so incredibly fortunate to be able to play with equipment that makes a difference and help with people's back pain. And just to you did a little bit of an intro of how it's helped, how the things we do have helped you. I want to share a little bit about why I'm even here and why I get to be a PT doing these different and amazing things. So I've been a PT for almost 14 years now. And I started working with Trent several years ago and found that there were these equipment called MedX, which we'll show you clips of later, but it's designed to isolate the low back and isolate the postural muscles and strengthen them. And so in the typical PT way of things, when you're using the insurance model and you have to go to a PT clinic, we can get you about 60 to 70% better. And then you've got a home exercise program. And it's kind of like, well, good luck with that. You're going to continue to get better on your own. I wasn't satisfied with that. I really wasn't okay with people just being cycled through. Okay, we'll get you good enough to kind of be okay. And then we'll see you again when you get hurt in like 6 months. And it's kind of predictable and like clockwork. And that's part of the reason why I really wanted to try something new, different, and something that was actually more effective. And so with things like the Piezo wave and the MedX, I've seen people actually get better and stay better and really resolve. And that's what you're speaking to, Scott, is if you'd come into a typical PT clinic, I would have helped you out as best I could, which it would have taken 3 to 4 weeks to get you better, that we were able to get into that first session. And then it would have taken a while to even get it to the point where you were stable, and just it takes longer.
Yeah. And in the past, when I've sought any kind of medical assistance with these issues, whether it's my shoulders, because I've got issues with the shoulders from previous injuries, and lower back, it's been painkillers and pain management, and never really fixing the problem. And it's just an entirely different approach at Healthy Beings. And Laura's amazing. And apparently I'm just a bag of bones that are floating around. And something that's happening over here is affecting something over here. And you really need 14 years of expertise to kind of hone in on that. Like, she'll just Bruce Lee pressure poke me in a certain place, and it's amazing what you do.
Yeah.
But,
and one of the pieces of that comes from is being able to pull from different professionals. Like I use anatomy trains, which is something that most massage therapists are familiar with, but PTs are not. So I've worked with enough massage therapists, enough athletic trainers, enough acupuncturists to be able to have an understanding, or at least a little bit, to pull some of what they're doing into my understanding of how the body works. and it just makes a more complex picture. And that's why I'm able to utilize some of those things and find, okay, where's it going to be the most effective?
Well, and then what we could do is maybe show you. Should we show the machine that you're talking about? And
Sure.
because I've never seen anything like it. So I'm going to pull the screen in.
Well, she's got it within reach.
Oh yeah. Well.
Oh, so
yeah.
Well,
Let's start with that. The Piezo.
Let's talk about
And
Piezo.
then we'll
Okay.
insert the clips. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So this next machine that we're going to talk about revolutionized the way that I treat clients.
Yes.
And the poster child problem for this particular device is plantar fasciitis. So in the outside world, plantar fasciitis takes 12 to 16 weeks of physical therapy to maybe make it better, and you've got to have shoe inserts, and it's a very painful process. People are using Graston techniques or massage techniques where people are really having to have a lot of pressure put on their foot, and it's painful. So what we have is something called a Piezo wave, and we're going to show you some video clips of that later in the show as well. But the actual device looks like this. Once I get untangled. So the device looks like this, and it produces a sound wave that goes through the crystal that's in here, and it focuses the sound wave into a particular point. And when you focus sound, it creates vibration. Much like when you focus light, you get heat. This does not produce heat, it just produces vibration. And so if I can focus the vibration into the plantar fascia, it breaks up the scar tissue and it reduces the inflammation in there. And so in something that normally would take 12 to 16 weeks to sort of 60 to 70% get better, this can make 60 to 70% improvement within 3 to 4 visits and get to the point of actually resolving it within 6 visits or so, depending on what other things you have going on. At the same time, we also have to look at, why do you have plantar fasciitis in the first place? Is it because you have some tightness in your hips or an issue in your knee or an issue in your back? And so it's not just going after the plantar fascia, which we can with the Piezo wave, which is what this is, but also taking the time to say, what's the root cause?
Can you give the folks a little insight into how that Piezo wave even came into existence?
Sure. So the Piezo wave was originally invented to help break up kidney stones, because if I can focus sound waves inside the body and not disrupt any of the tissue between the focal point and the skin, that's really useful, because then you can take a kidney stone and shake it apart and turn it into smaller particles that makes it easier for the body to pass, which is great. The trouble when they actually put it into practice was that it created too much of a vibration within the kidney, and it caused too much damage outside and around where it was focused. And so when they toned down the machine and turned down the intensity level, it wasn't able to do what it needed to do to get to the kidney stones. But it was really helpful because I could then focus it between joints and into muscle and into other places where my hands can't get. And that's what became the Piezo wave. They also made a specialized version using similar technology to make what's known today as lithotripsy, which is focused sound waves in the kidneys to do just that. It just uses a different machine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, I've even had it done, the Piezo done on my shoulder, and there's a couple of before and after tests, and it's amazing the movement. I was moving a grill a couple years ago, and it's kind of hurt my shoulder ever since. So it's a lot of unique sensations that you get. There's different levels of, I don't know what you'd call it. It's like
a very weird kind of pain.
It's a good, but it's a good, it's like a good pain. It kind of, it's interesting.
The good part is after the pain, because it really does like change your range of motion in real time.
It's a little bit of a shock, like a buzz.
There you go.
A current, if you will. Yeah.
It is an uncomfortable thing because we are breaking up scar tissue. We are pushing on inflamed tissue. And I have asked over all the clients I've seen, it's like, how would you describe the sensation? Because like you guys pointed out, it's a weird sensation.
Yeah.
It is. And the closest thing is a snapping sensation or an electrical sensation. But it's also something that you can tolerate because I can modulate the intensity for you and make sure that it's workable for you, but also it helps us kind of hone in on where the problem is. So if the tissue is moving normally and the way it's working the way it's designed, the Piezo wave, you really don't feel it. in normal tissue. And so it helps us kind of figure out, okay, where is the not normal tissue? And go
Right.
after that.
Yeah, that makes
We kind of find out where that scar tissue is in real time as well. I mean, I
Exactly.
had an accident where Laura knows quite well, but I flew through the air about 60 feet and landed on the hard cement and broke both arms, screwed up my shoulders, messed up my back, never been the same. And so what was it, day before yesterday, or yeah, I think I was in and we were working on my neck, and I don't really have that many problems with my neck, but apparently the issue with my range of motion in my neck is having an awful lot to do with my limited mobility in my shoulders. So, it's this big picture approach to how do we fix the problem. And I'm amazed at how quickly you can remedy the problem. I'm in much better shape in a pretty short period of time than I ever would have expected to be. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. And I found that the more we're able to both expand the view and say, how is this affecting other areas and what's actually driving this? And also coming down to the micro point of like, well, which part of the tendon is it? And being able to change the viewpoint of what we're looking at is helpful.
Right. So, since, I mean, obviously we're in Washington State, and because our viewers, not all of them, most of them are not here. If someone is interested in this, where do you go to find out if there's a Piezo wave type of therapy in your country or state or wherever?
Right. There is an umbrella term called shockwave therapy that you can search for on the internet. You can also search for something, and I say it wrong. I'm with my American English, I say a Piezo wave, but we can put something on the screen to show you what our device is. But if you search for that, you're going to find something similar. There are a couple of different devices out there that use the similar technology, but is not the same. There's things out there called a soft wave, and that doesn't focus the Piezo wave, but it still uses the Piezo wave. So instead of creating that fine-tuned point where I'm saying this is exactly where I am, they're kind of just blasting the tissue, which in some cases can be very, very helpful. And it's been great for some people. Ours is much more focused, and I find that for what I do, much more useful. There's also shockwave therapy that instead of using sound, they're using a concussive device. And most people are familiar with Theragun. And so it's a similar idea to Theragun, but a much more medically minded and much more robust device. So there's other ones out there. So if you look for shockwave, you'll find something similar.
And it's shockwave, not shock therapy, because those
Correct.
are two very different things, right?
Very, very different things. Yes, but of all of them, I've appreciated the Piezo wave machines the best.
Wow.
Well, before we segue anything else, is there anything else we want to touch on in relation to the Piezo wave at this point? And if not, then we can segue into the other modality or anything else about healthy beings. But please go ahead.
Yeah, I think that kind of gives you an overview of the Piezo wave. I think the only thing to add would be like, what's it useful for? I talked about plantar fasciitis. You've talked about your shoulder, but I can also use it to get into SI joints or sciatica type issues or neck pain, as well as things going on in the hand, like people come in with trigger finger or carpal tunnel. Those different things can really be helpful for it. I think a lot of the studies for the Piezo wave have been in the shoulder itself, as well as in the elbow. There's a lot of great information out there about tennis elbow, golfer's elbow. Those type of things are really helpful.
I think anywhere that scar tissue is, an impediment to motion.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Exactly.
And there's only, from what I understand, there's only 5 in the state of Washington?
To my knowledge, there are 5.
And
this
3
is to
of
my
them
knowledge.
belong to healthy beings. Is that right?
And I know one of them belongs to a chiropractor who's in the process of retiring. So.
Okay. Wow. Well, you know where to find it, folks.
Yep.
It's miraculous stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on to, I guess we could expand on MedX.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You can go into the technical explanation, but to have a visual representation on a computer monitor of where you're strong and where you're weak, and where you stack up in terms of maybe what a healthy expectation would be for your age, weight, and whatnot. This is really useful information, and it's diagnostic. You can get really precise with with the therapy.
Mhm.
I mean, I can't tell you how much it's improved
It's
my
really
situation.
cool.
Yeah.
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 But
So what?
anyway, but I gave you the really non-professional intro. Maybe you can expand on that a little.
Sure, sure. So most of a PT, when you go into a PT clinic and they say, how strong are you? Most of us are trained to like, okay, push against my hands. I'm going to like measure your shoulder strength just by like pushing on your arm. It's not very consistent in terms of how strong you are. So this machine goes through and is very, very accurate in its ability to measure not only your strength, but your range of motion. And this is of the lumbar spine itself. So it's like, how far can this low back actually go? And it rules out, and it doesn't include any hip motion or upper back motion or any of that. So it's truly isolating it. And that's where the power of it lies. There are other machines that were invented that are similar, but when you do the side-by-side comparisons, and they've done studies of just comparing them side by side in terms of their accuracy, but also their ability to help people improve, MedX comes out on top every time.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with the medieval isolation. Like you're strapped in a way that you can really, your body can only move in one particular way. So the muscles that are your larger muscle groups are compensating for, because that's been happening for a long period of time apparently. They can't work in that
Exactly.
pitched up position. So
Mhm.
yeah.
So the best example there is the low back machine. And it's measuring how much flexion or extension or how much forward and backward bend you have. And it's easy for our quad muscles to kick in and want to push and help out with that. But with the way that the pads are and the way that you're restrained, no matter how much your quads work and move, they're not actually contributing to what the computer is measuring. And so in the end, I get a really beautiful computer readout of how well are those muscles working at which angles. And it's interesting because if you look at someone who is, say, a water skier versus a computer worker versus a mechanic, you're going to end up getting different graphs in terms of where are they strong and where are they weak. And you can get really clear on that.
Yeah.
And then we've got a weight stack on it so you can get stronger.
Yeah, and the neck machine is similar in that I mean, you're just pressed in, very limited range of motion, but I can so much thought had to go into how do we isolate the body in a way that, because these other muscles, they just naturally want to kick in and complete the motion. And I think without the equipment, how would you ever accomplish such a thing?
Exactly. So it was invented by a guy who took his time to create it. It was invented by Arthur Jones, who you guys might be familiar with, Nautilus equipment. So in the gym, most gyms have Nautilus equipment, which he invented. He then went back and he was watching people use his equipment and realized that he hadn't quite isolated things the way that he wanted to get the results that he wanted to. And so he went back to the University of Florida, got another grant, and created what is now known as the MedX machines. And so from there, he was able to look at what are the cam ratios and what are all these technical specifications to make it work and get what we have today.
And those machines are very rare, from what I've heard. They're a bit heavy. Give us a little insight.
Expensive.
And expensive. Yeah. Like where?
Yeah.
I mean, in Washington State, I don't know how many places
None.
even. But where would you find these machines outside of out of Washington State?
I do not know where they are outside of Washington State, but I do know that in Washington State, we're the only ones that have them. And what's fascinating to me is, as a physical therapist, I have continuing education courses that I need to take to maintain my license. And I enjoy taking them. But I have to kind of sit back when I'm taking a course on the low back or on the neck, because so much of my profession and so much of my colleagues are working on how do they kind of work around this thing of being not able to isolate the neck. And they're able to do it a little bit, but not nearly as effective as this. Like I had a woman come in for a car accident, and normal neck range of motion is 0 to 126. And she had like a middle range. I think she had like 60 degrees total of neck motion. And if I'd had her in a PT clinic, it's going to take me 8-10 weeks to even begin to start moving that range of motion. And we just measured her yesterday, and she doesn't quite get all the way back to 0 yet. She's at 3 degrees, but she's able to get to 110, which is a huge improvement in a very short amount of time. And so after a car accident, you know how painful the neck is, you know how guarded it is. And so it's very, very safe to use this equipment because of how well it isolates and how well we're able to fine tune it for what your body can do right now without overstressing it.
And that's got to make a big difference in your job, like going from
It's
being
huge.
incredibly gratifying as opposed to being deeply disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's really hard when you have that client, you want to get better and the tools that you have haven't worked. Now I have more tools, so things are working much better.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the bigger picture at Healthy Beings, is this embracing technologies and modalities that actually work.
Mhm.
We our healthcare model is centered around the financial component, which has driven the cost of everything up so substantially that really they decide the kind of care you get and don't get. But yeah, like the MedX, you were telling me that they will cover some use of this equipment, but just not the diagnostic part, which is kind of the best and most important part. Like, how do you design a plan without the diagnostic part? It's critical.
Exactly. So, and what you're referring to, Scott, is I had a client that he was struggling to know if his insurance would cover the MedX equipment, because it's basically you're working with a physical therapist doing exercise. Great. Insurance is usually happy to cover something like that. And so I was going through his policy of this one particular insurance, and it was fascinating because it actually named MedX in there. And it says, we'll pay for a MedX exercise, but not the actual test. And I was like, that's fascinating. And I don't know why that was, but it was just kind of like, if I don't have a test, how do I know how much weight to put on safely? So yes, it's insurance companies. They don't make sense.
We'll give you the car, but we're not covering the wheels or tires. That's not happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just the way that it works.
Yeah. Well, Healthy Beings, and obviously it's going to be cool to, as Healthy Beings expands into other parts of the country. But what makes it so different? And it'd be great if there were places that were similar to it, because it's outside the normal care of most places that people go to seek medical help. So how can you give people insight on what makes it different, maybe other modalities, and since not everybody lives up here, what they could look for some of the modalities in other places where they could find something similar? I mean, not that there's a lot of places like this, but any insight on that would be helpful.
And maybe that model, the model, like a gym membership, but for your health, and how that makes so much more sense.
Right.
Yeah. So Healthy Beings is created to be more of like a playground of, here are some tools that you won't typically find to support you in either resolving a health issue you already have, or preventing a health issue, or improving the longevity of your life. And so it's like, okay, come play with these things. Let's see what happens. And that's really what makes Healthy Beings unique, is the playground aspect to it, in that we've had lots of different doctors come in and say, okay, well, let's try this with this particular client. We're like, yeah, we're happy to provide, whether it's hyperbaric or red LED, or I think you guys did an episode on the theta chamber. So yeah, it's more a matter of creating a space where people can kind of come in, try things, see what they need to do, have it morph into what they need, as opposed to a doctor saying, hey, you need to go get this, and this is what you're going to get. And there isn't as much leeway to explore, or to really say, well, if I do that and I add this other piece, it becomes more helpful.
Right.
So for example, as a PT, I'm using the MedX machine and getting people stronger there. But if we add in, say, something like red light, then their soreness is less. And that's really cool. You're not going to find that somewhere else, where you're actually mixing and matching with different modalities.
Right. Yeah. I was just thinking about a recent session I had with you where I was talking about how I'm dreaming more vividly, and I'm remembering my dreams, which is unusual for me. And so Laura just says theta chamber.
Yeah.
So apparently, yeah, I mean, Joe and I are fortunate that we get to explore a lot of these modalities, and the overall impact has been, pretty remarkable. in a variety of areas. We're gonna have to talk about that over several episodes.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
PT thing is kind of my most well, it's probably my favorite in that it's made the biggest changes in my life, with the back pain and the shoulder pain and so on. It's I didn't know I was ever going to be able to recover from those injuries and the kind of pain I was living with.
Right.
Yeah. And it's great to have different options out there. And you asked the question about insurance and like the membership aspect of it and how to actually make this reasonable and feasible for people. And so we do have some membership options where you pay a monthly fee. At the moment, it's $55 for the month, and you get membership pricing on all of our services. There's also packages that you can purchase. So if you want to explore a lot of different technologies and a lot of different services, I'd say go the membership route. If you're saying, I just want to do the theta chamber, or I just want to do MedX, or whatever that is, that's where we have packages that helps to reduce the cost there. We don't partner with any insurance companies at the moment. And so there are some of our services that you can submit to your insurance yourself, and we can give you the codes and the different paperwork to make that happen. But then you're going back to your insurance company to see if they'll reimburse you.
Right. Now, you guys have people that fly in from different places to experience healthy beings. And I think that there is definitely an interest if, like, let's say someone's in Florida and they love this facility and they wanted to create something like that there. It could be, if they have the means. Obviously, this isn't, an expensive process. What do you say to them if they come and they love this and they want something similar to this somewhere else?
Yeah, I think that would be a conversation of like, how is it that we could create a space that's multimodal, that really allows for the playground aspect of it, and that also being able to offer something that isn't in the typical medical, accessible through our current medical system. There are some of the technologies we have here that you'll find in other countries, but you won't find here in the US. And so it's being able to say, okay, what's different? Like the Piezo wave, the MedX is relatively rare. How can we pull together these things that will help to boost someone's health or prevent them from getting an injury or those sorts of things? That's what I would say to them.
Right.
It's going to look for those things.
It just seems like the focus, as opposed to other clinics that I've heard about or had experience with, is you guys are really looking at what works and what produces results and creates a healthy being, kind of a thing. And I think a lot of places are born out of the constraints, the financial constraints that are placed on healthcare.
Yes.
Which, that's a really unfortunate reality. But you guys are kind of setting the example for maybe how to beyond that.
And I know that there are some places that will have like a communal tool shed sort of thing. It's like, hey, we've got this communal tool shed, let's all use them together. You can kind of, well, we're not quite like that because we have to be a little bit more careful with the machinery and make sure someone knows how to use it. But it's kind of that same idea of like, okay, let's pull some of these really cool tools into the community and see how we can support our community and being able to help everybody get healthier and live the way that they want to live.
Well, and I know that we've been in the hyperbaric chamber. Can you speak to some of the advantage, the benefits of going in the hyperbaric chamber? Trent was talking to us, and that what's happened in the last 3 years and the effects that people have had from either inoculation or whatever. Can you give some hope and some insight into that? That'd be really welcome too.
Yeah, with the hyperbaric, more of my knowledge is around how that's affecting people with concussion or affecting people with injuries. My colleagues can speak better to what's going on with the vaccines or with other illnesses in the hyperbaric. But in terms of what I'm more familiar with in terms of the concussion and the wound healing and the bone joint healing, it just speeds everything up. You can think of your body as it's got its own little fire, and when you blow oxygen onto it, it's hotter, it's more efficient at what it does. And that's really what you're doing with a hyperbaric, is you're really oxygenating the body. And when the cells have the oxygen that they need to have, they heal better, they heal faster. And so we've seen people with fractures like rib fractures, or I myself, I had a toe fracture, and it healed much faster than expected because of getting in the hyperbaric and because of using different modalities that we have here.
Very cool. Is there anything we haven't touched on that we want to cover? Either of you?
There's a lot of toys in that toy box.
There's a lot of toys. So
Yeah.
I have a story of a client that kind of encompasses the whole picture of what's going on at Healthy Beings in terms of utilizing all the tools. We had a client come to us who had fractured 2 ribs. You know, something happened. He fractured 2 ribs, and 2 weeks, he was scheduled 2 weeks from then to be on a helicopter ski trip that he'd been planning with years for Buddy, and it was like a once in a lifetime kind of thing. And he really wanted to go, and he had 2 broken ribs. And so broken ribs typically take 8 to 10 weeks before you can really feel comfortable taking a deep breath, before you can really feel comfortable pushing things, doing different things. And this particular client was very fit. He spent a lot of time in the gym. He was very strong. So it wasn't like we were having to build strength in order to heal. And so I couldn't make any promises about being able to help his ribs heal. But with the technologies that we have here, he was able to go on that trip and do fine. So what we did is a combination of hyperbaric, which includes Rife technology, which is a frequency technology, which is a whole nother talk on itself. And if you guys wanted to do something on Rife, that would be fun.
Yeah.
But so Rife and the hyperbaric and red light every day for, I think we did 6 days on, 1 day off. No, we did 5 days on, 2 days off. We did 5 days on, 2 days off. And also in that time, we would spend 1 day doing Piezo wave and then the next day just doing hands-on stretching. I wouldn't want to do Piezo wave directly on the fracture because that would just vibrate the fracture and prevent it from healing. So the purpose of the Piezo wave in this instance was to relax the muscles attaching to the rib so that they weren't actually pulling too hard on the rib. So I was very careful about where I was doing it so I wasn't putting pressure on the fracture. And then we were just stretching his body out and getting it accustomed to moving again. And within, 4 or 5 days, he was able to take a full deep breath pain-free. 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
Days.
And what's typical?
8
weeks.
Yeah.
6 to 8 weeks.
Wow.
So then he's like, I think I can go back to the gym. And it's like, yeah, I think you're ready. So he started to go back to the gym day 7 or 8. And he was being careful about it. Day 10, he was doing his normal full workouts, no problem, pain-free. Day 14, the day before he was scheduled to go out on that ski trip, he went out and did a practice run at one of the local ski hills, and he had no problem. So he went on his trip, did great. It's awesome.
And so that was hyperbaric, red light, and what else?
Piezo wave.
Okay. Wow.
And stretching.
Okay.
And so the hyperbaric also included Rife. And so that encompasses, that's what Healthy Beings is about. We're about using the modalities that are needed to get you where you want to go as best we can. And in a typical PT clinic, I would have had to put my hands up and say, I can't do anything with you. There isn't anywhere that I'm aware of in our current medical system in America that would allow you to do something like that. The hyperbaric, if he had found a hyperbaric somewhere, he might have been able to reduce his healing time from 8 to 10 weeks to maybe 5 or 6. But clearly not 2 weeks.
Wow.
This combination of modalities and this expertise together is just such an amazing, like I said, I can't believe that I was living with incredible pain and it was leading to depression and all kinds of things. After one session, are you kidding me? I mean, it was, yeah, it's life-changing, and it's amazing how quickly the body can heal itself with the right kind of help.
Right.
So this really should be, I think, the new model.
Yeah, these should be everywhere, and that's I mean, and I think that's something that's in the works. And I think if people are interested, they can go to healthybeings.com and look at all the modalities and start exploring, options that they might want to bring to their own, wherever they are. So
yeah.
I mean, you guys work with elite athletes and like there was a former Navy SEAL that had tremendous progress with PTSD.
Yeah, we worked with also pro athletes, Olympic athletes. I have a high school kiddo who's looking at going pro, and so we're doing a lot of things there. but also just the someone who's working at a computer all day. How do I improve my memory and concentration? How do I sleep better?
Right.
Or even someone who's struggling with some type of trauma in their past, and how do I get to sleep better with PTSD? And how do I keep my brain calm? Or, hey, I'm struggling with anxiety, depression. How do you manage that?
On that, what is, we have a picture of Scott.
Oh, the RTMS.
Yeah. Oh, you guys like yes, you
do
like
the RTMS. He's at the salon.
He does. So our RTMS is different than what you will find if you went to a physician's clinic and wanted RTMS. Their units require medical assistance to be there on site doing what they're doing because of the level of intensity that they're using. We're using a much lower intensity device that the goal of ours is to use small intensity over a long period of time versus theirs is a higher intensity for fewer visits. But the TMS, or transcranial magnetic stimulation, ours has an R in front of it because it's repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation. Yeah, that's where the R comes from. And so it's got different settings on it, and its job is to exercise different parts of the brain. We know what parts of the brain are associated with depression or with anxiety or PTSD, and we know what parts of the brain aren't working. And if we can exercise those pieces, then that part starts to work better. So a great example is we had a client who'd gone off to college, or she tried to go off to college, and she couldn't stay because of anxiety and depression. She just couldn't stay. So she came home. They tried everything they could find. They tried pharmaceuticals, they tried counseling, they tried EMDR. They went out and they tried everything. And they eventually came to us and were like, oh, what do we do? So we tried a combination of theta chamber and RTMS. The theta chamber was to help the brain calm down. Just kind of the spinning that happens in the brain when you're that anxious, being able to calm the brain down. And then the RTMS was there to help exercise the part of the brain that is supposed to be working better. And she did 3 weeks, although she said, I think I'm good at 2 weeks, but I want to do an extra week just to be sure. And she went back to college. She didn't just go back to college like a community college that's local that she would have more support. No, she went overseas to England and went to school, did a full semester there. She came back to visit us in between her first and second semester. And she says, I'm doing great. I just want to tell you guys hi. Figured I'd do the theta chamber one more time. And, she's been doing amazing.
That's fantastic.
So, that's cool. I mean,
Yeah.
You actually get results so you don't have to continue the treatment for years. I mean, the goal is to get people healthy and on their way, and maybe they can come back for a tune-up or something.
Well, the goal ought to be that.
Yeah, it should be
that's the goal at Healthy Beings. So
yeah.
I would love to be a maintenance center as opposed to a fix it center.
Right.
But that's not where human beings are right now. So we do both.
Yeah. Well, I think that's awesome for our first installment, Laura. Where can people find Healthy Beings and any information that you want to share with them?
My recommendation would be to find us on our website, or you can call us up, and we're happy to talk with you. If you're in the local area, or if you're coming to visit, we can schedule a tour for you to come see what's here and just kind of talk about what it is that interests you.
Cool. All right. We'll hang out after, and we're excited to see you soon again. Anyway,
absolutely. Looking forward to it.
All right.
You know where I am.
Yep. All right, everybody. Healthybeings.com. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good one.
What's the difference between stretching static on the ground versus stretching with the power plate?
I get a deeper stretch with this because it kind of catches, so instead of the muscle fibers being it's like that, they're kind of having a roll with it, so they just get deeper into the stretch, right?
Sweet, yeah. That works.
I mean, is that what you were?
Did
I answer the question you asked?
Yeah,
or a different
I did. You did answer it. Different people have said different things, and so the deeper stretch is one thing I hear. The other thing is a longer lasting stretch is sometimes what I hear. So.
Longer lasting stretch.
Wouldn't that be nice? I think you're stretched out and it's stretched out for longer.
It's a good slogan for chewing gum, and I like it.
Yeah. Flat here with your feet that way.
Okay.
Arms out to the sides. I want you to bring this foot to this hand.
Oh, sure.
Oh, sure.
With a bent knee or?
Doesn't matter. Just let it come that direction.
Well, if you're helping, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other side.
Just put your ankle behind your earlobe.
We'll affectionately call this one pretzeling.
Yes.
The purpose of this one is to get some rotation into your low back.
I like it.
But also into your hip too. And then you have to control the motion bringing your foot back. So it's kind of warming up your back muscles for the back exercise that we're about to do.
I see.
It's also one of, I'm not a huge fan of, let's do one exercise per muscle. I like things to be efficient. And so if I can get one exercise working on a whole series of muscles, that's my favorite. Get on the machine.
Just circle, run a circle?
Circles. You remember hula hoops as a kid?
Yeah. About to get medieval.
You feels good?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
What is this?
So this is a massage chair.
Okay.
And just a vibrating massage tool. I'm using it to relax his muscles a little bit more because we found that actually allowed him to get more mobility forward into flexion. Of what this machine does is that it isolates the lumbar paraspinal muscles and strengthens them. There's no other machine that is able to do that. There's a couple of machines in the gym also invented by Arthur Jones, but they are mislabeled. And so when you go look at what he wrote about and what he created, those machines in the gym that you find don't isolate the legs, and so they're more hamstring strengtheners, glute strengtheners. This isolates out the legs, so you're only getting the paraspinals.
Yeah, you might as well.
Wait a minute.
So we are here at Healthy Beings with the amazing Laura, who is going to be explaining the Piezo wave, because I actually do have a shoulder injury from a couple years ago.
So we should probably test your shoulder first.
We sure should, yeah.
Let's test your shoulder.
Okay.
So if I raise this arm up,
Okay.
is that painful or easy?
It's not painful, but I just feel like a little bit of tightness, I suppose.
So you see the angle that's at?
Mm-hmm.
And now if we take this one, is there a difference for you?
It feels like that one goes down a
This
little
one goes
more.
farther.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we have the video, you can really test it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay. So, here we go. So
Here we go.
Okay.
What are you feeling now?
A little bit of pain.
How would you describe this sensation?
Like a mild shock. Now it kind of moved up there.
Yep,
now it's
I moved
back.
it.
Yeah, but I could definitely tell. Okay, now that's more of an ache.
Okay.
And that's a pain.
And this is a?
A little bit of shock, and I can kind of feel it going up my neck.
Yeah. So all these pieces are connected, and so if you feel the sensation going into other places, that's normal.
Right.
Okay. And depending on what tissue we're focused on, it'll feel a little bit different. It's not designed to be painful. It's designed to be a little bit uncomfortable because we're going to be breaking up scar tissue, or we're pushing on areas of inflammation to help all of those things get better.
Right. Did you want to give the viewers a little bit of insight into how this was created?
Sure.
That whole kidney stone story was really interesting.
Yeah. So originally they made this device to break up kidney stones internally because I'm focusing inside your body without disrupting any of the layers between our focal point and where the Piezo wave head is. And so that's an ideal thing for kidney stones, so it could actually be focused inside the kidney stone. However, to get the intensity that they needed, they started damaging the kidney, so they couldn't use that. They used that prototype and they went two ways with it. One, they toned it down, and it became this machine, which is the Piezo wave. They also changed several things, and it became today's modern day lithotripsy. which is a specialized mat you lay in the hospital to help them, where they're actually able to focus inside and break up the kidney stones. So that's how this device got started.
That's really interesting.
So what's fascinating about it now is that I'm able to focus between the bones of your shoulders. I can focus into your rotator cuff. I can focus into very specific places without causing damage around there and getting into places I couldn't otherwise. And there are other devices like this out there, but they aren't focused. They just blast the tissue with the Piezo wave. And this allows me to be a lot more precise with it.
And now the scale goes from 1 to 18. I'm currently on 7.
Right. And you started at 5.
Right. I can go up a little bit more.
Okay, go for it.
Because it's going to be probably more of an effect if I do.
Yes. We're not looking to make it so painful you can't breathe.
Right.
But discomfort in this case is a good thing, and I don't typically say that as a PT.
Right. Exactly.
Anything in here?
Ooh, yeah. There was right in...
There? No.
Yes. No, there was this... That's kind of like an electric shock, like ache.
And does it stay there or does it travel?
It's staying right there.
Yeah. So just hang into that. Go ahead and breathe. And what I'm going to ask you in a moment or two is what it's like now, because it changes even within a few clicks.
Yeah, it's kind of like the ache. It dissipated.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where we took that tissue that wasn't moving and made it move now, and so it's more comfortable.
Okay.
So that's the Piezo wave doing its job. Okay.
Got it.
So now I'm going to have you put your right hand on your left shoulder.
Okay.
Yep, like that, so that I can get further in here.
Woo.
You okay there?
No, it's good. I could.
Okay.
Yeah. Hurts so good.
Yep.
It definitely. I'm not used to that sensation
No.
at all because
You're not used to anything getting into this spot at all.
No, but obviously there's something going on there. Otherwise, I wouldn't feel
exactly.
that.
Which is the other nice thing about this machine is that when I move it to a spot that's not an issue, you don't feel it.
Right.
Or if you do, it's very mild. So it helps to really identify and become more specific about where the inflamed tissue is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was I mainly felt it when you were higher up.
Yeah, it's not so much down here, is it?
Right, no. And the sound obviously changes too.
Yes. It changes for several reasons.
Yeah, that I feel.
Mm-hmm. So that's actually getting closer to where your rotator cuff inserts into your arm bone.
Okay. Go up just a little bit. Yes. Oh, that's...
Do you need to turn that one down?
Maybe just one.
Okay.
Keep going. Woo! Yeah, that's in there.
Yeah. And this is part of the tendon of the muscle that was holding you from being able to move your arm as well.
So the longer that you stay on the area, over time it should dissipate a bit because it's...
It doesn't always, but that's typically what happens. Yeah, you okay?
Yeah, I'm just breathing in.
Okay, go ahead and bring your arm back down.
Okay. Well, that really allows it to get in there.
Yeah. Can you sit up tall?
Yes.
And now I'm going to shift around to the front here.
Okay.
And get that spot. Anything in here?
Wait, a little bit.
A little bit there.
Yeah, a little bit there.
Okay. So this is one of those places where I can hit on most people and have them be a little bit irritated just because of how we sit at desks all day.
Mm-hmm.
For you, it's not too bad, which is really good. But this is your bicep tendon.
I feel that there, yeah, that.
Mm-hmm.
You're very good at working in where
it is.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Now, when did you first discover this machine?
About 7 years ago.
Okay.
And so I've been using it for the past 7 years and really practicing where it works well and where it doesn't work well over those 7 years. And that's what I found is that there are lots of places it's good for, but the easiest way to categorize it is it's great for tendons, ligaments, muscles, and then the tissues between the joints. So like meniscus or bursa or a lot of those other things that can get inflamed. There are several studies out there that this can help with bone spurs too, and actually can dissolve bone spurs. They've done x-ray studies on that. It just takes a long time. So if you're able to take the time to get in there and get it done, then that's great. All right, so let me take the gel off and then we can retest your shoulder.
Okay.
Before you do,
yeah.
So I have some B-roll. Can you do that again? I'll just get a close-up.
Of this?
Just in case we want to change it up a little bit, we'll have something alternative.
Oh, right, just that.
You can also get a close-up of the screen as it's clicking over.
I figured I'd do that too.
Sorry, my friend.
Oh, you're good.
Oh yeah, this is going to be great.
Nice.
Just covered in ectoplasm.
Oh, yeah, right there.
Good.
It's amazing how many different sensations there are with.
Yeah.
There's the shocks, there's the aches, there's the one like when you get a massage and it goes up into your skull.
I'm doing one long take, and I probably should pause it.
There we go.
Okay. So you're going to want to get a snippet of when we...
Over here.
Okay, so now we get to retest your arm after this.
Okay. Yeah, it feels like I can actually go down a few more inches with that.
It's more comfortable. You're moving just a little bit different, not a significant amount. That's part of the reason why I keep pulling your arm over, because I have a specific position for your arm that I'm testing. But it feels better, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, just to get the same video of this side.
And then the effects of this last roughly, how often?
It depends on what it is that we're working on.
Right.
So if we're working on a bone spur, it takes a long, long, long time. If we're working on a muscle, it can be really consistently every time you come in, it's getting better.
Right.
If it's a tendon or ligament, it might take a few sessions. So for plantar fasciitis or tennis elbow, I'm expecting that to take about 4 sessions to be significantly better. 6 sessions, you're doing really well. If we're working on multiple areas within a foot or shoulder or joint, that might take a little bit longer.
Okay. So if it's 4 to 6 sessions, then is there much follow-up that's required, or should it be pretty much?
Yeah, if the joint is able to be used normally after that, then you're pretty much good. So a lot of times getting the foot moving and getting it comfortable to move, then you're good. You don't need any more than that.
Right.
But if it's an issue of like, okay, the reason you're getting plantar fasciitis is because your foot isn't moving well, then let's make sure that you have the right orthotics. Let's make sure your back is strong enough. There's other things to do in there. It depends on the root cause of it,
Right.
which I am a huge fan of finding, well, why do you continually have X, Y, or Z thing?
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Anything else we need to cover, you think, on this one?
I think we're good.
Okay. Cool.
Because I get to abuse him next.